Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here for episode 3 of our, Lost Your Mojo kind of crafting motivation and inspiration series. And what I thought we could do today is just have a bit of a play around with some sheet music. I absolutely love sheet music. I have to say, I do find it very inspirational just looking at it. I know that sounds really strange, but, it just... Oh, it's so yummy and lovely, isn't it? I can't really put it into words, but I just think it is very, very inspirational in itself. And it always looks so, so, so lovely, wherever you put it and however you use it in a junk journal. So I thought we could just have a look at sort of, just making some super simple, very basic things just using sheet music. We talked previously in the other episodes about kind of, when you are missing your mojo or, you've lost your crafting mojo and things, about keeping it simple and, just doing something that kind of like is not too much stress, not too much pressure, not too much kind of, desiring a certain outcome or anything like that. And I think the sheet music, you can do loads of things with it, but actually you can then save them for another day and either decorate them up, making more of them, or just leave them, as the sheet music. Either way, they will be really lovely. So let's just take a few sheets of the sheet music. So I've got 6 sheets here. Let's tear them down. I've got 6 sheets here. Now, this is quite thin. Again, sheet music kind of varies, and, sometimes it might be a bit thicker and more robust. This one happens to be pretty thin. I mean, obviously it's vintage, but having said that, I have bought vintage sheet music before that actually isn't too flimsy. So, it's just going to be kind of the luck of the draw, really, what you manage to get your hands on. So let's just move these out the way. So whatever it is that I'm making from the sheet music, I will generally probably double it over and, make it... double thickness so that it's a bit more durable. So obviously, in fact, I'm just thinking, one of the first things that you could do is just make some sort of very, very, very simple kind of belly band / pockets from your sheet music. So the best way, or the most simple way to do some, is just take one sheet of your sheet music and you can just fold it into thirds like that. And that's it. Literally, that's it. You've then got a nice good pocket. So I would then just take this, glue it down. Oops. Glue it down around the edges. Maybe a bit of glue in the middle. And then glue it down along here as well. Like that. Oops. And then just squish that in like that. Whoops. And then, sorry, I just tore the paper there. And then you could take this obviously to your sewing machine and you could just stitch around the edges to obviously form, a bit more of an interesting pocket. So literally I would stitch around all 4 of the edges. So, I mean, it really doesn't get any easier than that, does it? And that's going to be just a lovely, either belly band or pocket at the edge of the page or, wherever you want. And yeah, just took like no time whatsoever. So that's kind of pocket number 1. Then another thing that you could do with your sheet music. Now I just want to decide how to have this because of course it's got that title on it. Oh, well, that's fine. I'm going to probably lose the title anyway. So doing exactly the same thing to start, folding it into thirds, like that. And then you could just bring up the bottom, like that, to form a little pocket with your sheet music. So again, what I would then do is I would open it back out, glue around, so glue the, this first part down like that. Okay. Then glue around your next sheet. There. Okay. Ooh. Like that. Just get my wipe so that I can mop up the excess glue. Oh dear. Sorry, my glue's getting everywhere. And then you've got your foldy pocket, which just literally folds up there. Now at this point, I would probably take it to the sewing machine and just stitch around the entire thing. I would probably stitch across here first. So open it out, stitch across there, then fold it up and stitch around the whole thing. So I'll do that in a second, but that's kind of just another little option for, you know, just a little pocket using your sheet music. And you know what you could do, I mean, if I'm kind of lacking a bit of motivation and so my imagination is then not really kind of functioning, I would just sit and make a whole bunch of these. So, you know, instead of kind of, you know, just making one and then going on to something else, I'd make kind of, you know, 5 or 6 of these or whatever. And then that's being in the craft room, it's doing things, preparing things for a journal or for a project that you're going to be doing later. But you're not really kind of stressing yourself too much with kind of, you know, having to make something really fancy. You know, you can just be almost like zoned out kind of doing the same thing time and time again. So that's that one. Then another thing that you could do is, of course, make some pretty envelopes and things from your sheet music. Now, what I would probably do for these is take 2 sheets and glue them down. Now just want to decide. Sometimes I think just certain sheet music patterns are prettier than others. You know, obviously I can't read music, so it's kind of irrelevant as to what they actually are doing. But yeah, sometimes I just find some are prettier than others. So just going to go around, glue my 2 sheets of sheet music together. Just because, like I say, it's a little bit on the flimsy side. Okay. So, like that. Okie dokie. Like that. And then just fold up like this. Now, I have not glued right to the edges because I'm probably going to trim my envelope down. So, like that. And then fold your envelope flap like this. Okay. Then I would trim the whole thing around to, you know, the sort of rough size that I want it. So just check my fold is roughly in the right place. Okay. Oops, what have I done with my scissors now? Oh dear, what have I done with them? They're just there under a pile of stuff. So yeah, oops. So bring in scissors and then just, whoops, trim these down here. Like that. And then just like with the other things, all I would then do is again take these to the sewing machine, possibly stitch along here, you know, as a separate piece. Sorry, not there, here, the inside flap as a separate piece. So stitching along there and then stitch around the whole thing, keeping obviously the inside open to put things. And then you've just got a super yummy envelope, you know, that you can then kind of decorate up. And then obviously following on from that, what else you could do is you could take some more sheet music, again glue it back in together. So Let me just move those out of the way because they're dropping into the desk. Ooh, running out of room. This sheet music's really big, so yeah, it's a struggle to kind of fit it all in. Glue this all down. And then just going to focus here where I'm going to kind of cut it in half. So stick this down here like that. Okie dokie. Take my glue spreader. Spread that glue out. Oh dear. So tearing the paper there. And then all I would do is literally take my envelope, or you know what's going to be my envelope, again fold it up where I'm going to have my you know, the, what do you call this, the inside, not the flap, the opposite to the flap, like that. Fold my flap over and then cut it to make 2 envelopes. So maybe, yeah, maybe kind of like, you know, maybe down the middle, or maybe like over, so I've got a sort of narrow one and a larger one. Just kind of, again, like play it by ear and sort of judge by, you know, eye, kind of how big you want your envelopes. Like that. Oops. Oh, come on. Like that. And then exactly like the other things, I would take this to the sewing machine, stitch around here, stitch around here, and then you've got 2 envelopes, different sizes. So, you know, again, really keeping it super, super simple, and, you know, just, yeah, just anything that's very quick and easy. Just get my sheet music back up off the floor, because I just put my pad down on the floor. Hold on a second. Oops. Right. Okay, let's take a couple more sheets. Okie dokie. Just take a couple more. Okay, like that. Okay. So another thing that you could do is you could just fold, you know, take one sheet of sheet music, fold it in here, so down the lengthways, and then fold it up here, like that. So I mean, effectively you just folded it into quarters, and then you could just literally stitch it around the sides, and you've got then a little pocket there. So I'm actually going to switch this around because I prefer this side. You know, when I said some of the sheet music has got a nicer pattern than others. So like that. And then open it back out, glue the whole thing down. And, you know, really don't have to be too fussy because I am going to be taking this obviously to the sewing machine. Like that. Like that. Fold it back up and then stitch it on the sewing machine. Now personally, you know, for me, if I made something like this, I would then have this edge as the opening rather than this edge. And the reason being is because this edge, obviously, you know, if it's not kind of glued down and things, you're just going to have a vulnerable point when you're putting things in and out of that pocket. This is just a bit vulnerable for getting torn. Whereas this obviously is folded over, so it's much more solid and, you know, a better sort of, yeah, better foundation really for it. So that's that. And I would just glue around, obviously, again on the the 3 sides to finish that off. You might want to trim it down slightly. I mean, I actually quite like those rough edges, you know, where it's been torn out from the book. But, you know, it's up to you really. If you don't mind getting rid of those, you can then have a slightly narrower pocket, which, you know, you might prefer. So, you know, just like with the other things, I would perhaps sit and just make a bunch of these and then take them all to the sewing machine, and then you've got a whole bunch ready to use for other things. So I'm going to take all these to the sewing machine and then we'll come back and we'll just have a look at them. Okay, so I'm back from the sewing machine. So this was the first one that we did, and I've just literally stitched around it all around each of the sides. So, and I've used white thread, so it's probably not going to show up the best on the camera, so I do apologise for that. So that's that one. The next one was that large envelope, which of course I've just glued, stitched across here on that, not the flap, the, you know, the bit that's not the flap, the pocket. I've stitched across that, and then I've obviously stitched around the envelope as well. So that's that. Then we had the two small envelopes, so I did exactly the same in that I stitched across here first, you know, the bit that's the pocket, and then stitched around the entire envelope. Just trimming my threads as I'm showing you each of these. So we've got then a small envelope there. We've then got a slightly bigger one here, you know, not big by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, slightly bigger. So that's that one. And then we've got that final pocket that we did, which, you know, couldn't get any easier of a pocket than that one. So, you know, we've made quite a few little bits there. I've lost count now, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bits. And it took us like literally no time whatsoever. And of course, we've just made them from... And we just made them literally from complete sheets of sheet music. So, I mean, we didn't even really kind of need to trim these down or anything. So, you know, it really didn't get any easier than that. So, again, if I'm kind of lacking a bit of motivation or anything, you know, and kind of, yeah, just floundering around a bit, these are brilliant things to just be able to kind of make and then have either at the ready, you know, for when you do feel a bit more motivation, or that you could then kind of then, you know, pull your other things out and start decorating very small, simple projects. So I'm just going to pull in 1 or 2 of the things that we have made already during this series. So obviously on the first episode, we did lots of this stamping. So I'm just going to pull in 1 or 2 bits, I think, from the stamping that we did. And just have a look and see about putting a couple of these bits on. So for instance here I've got this gorgeous little French kind of I don't know whether it's like a plaque or, well, that's quite yellow on there actually. So alternatively I've got this tracing paper pieces, well, vellum really. It's thicker than tracing paper. So I'm just going to cut this out here. Like that. Okie dokie. Put that down. I mean, how pretty does that look on there? So, I mean, it's all, you know, just very neutral colours, not kind of done anything really to it, but it just looks lovely, doesn't it? And then we could just take maybe like a label, just from my labels set 2. Again, I've just picked this one because it's, well, it's actually quite browny, but it's neutralish. I might wish I'd used a more neutral one, but well, I don't think that looks too bad. So we could just have that one there, and then just have a look and see what else I've got that's, you know, floating around that might be ideal for here. So again, I've got my bows. I mean, I'm just using things that are still on the desk, obviously, from other videos. So, you know, that's why obviously I'm using similar things each time, is because they're the things that have been floating around since the last video. So take my bows, you know, this one being a really nice neutral one, so hopefully keeping with the very neutral theme. I mean, I struggle to keep things neutral. If you watch my channel, you'll know, I mean, I'm very drawn to colour, so for me, keeping things just neutral is really, really hard, because, you know, I just want to add colour. It's just a natural thing for me. You know, it's just a very natural thing to want to add colour. So keeping things neutral for me is, yeah, very hard, very hard. Right, my pocket's that side, so I just must remember which side my actual pocket is. Now, I want to keep her face, obviously, clear of the sheet music. So just deciding where to put that bow. Let's just ink it up a bit, just so as it stands out slightly more. Okey-dokey. Like that. Okay, that's really nice, doesn't it? Let me just see about a stamp, a little postage stamp or something. I mean, obviously I'm really trying to kind of just use quite basic things, so that we keep the, you know, the projects very accessible for everybody. So yeah, I'm just having a quick look through my postage stamps. Oh, which now I don't seem to have any neutrally colour ones at all. Oh, it's quite hard to find quite neutral stamps. Okay, that one. Oh, it's a bit brown, isn't it? It's a bit on the brown side. So is that one. So yeah, might have to not bother with the postage stamp, because yeah, I'm trying my best to keep this quite neutral. So let's just bring in a bit of lace. My favourite thing. Oops. Oh, how pretty does that look? Right, okay. So I'm going to just glue the vellum down here at the bottom. Again, trying to keep her face clear of the sheet music. You know, I don't want the notes kind of like suddenly poking halfway up her eye or something like that, or halfway up her cheek, which I have had things like that happen quite often. But yeah, trying to be a bit more aware of doing things like that and making those mistakes now. So we can just have that little bow there. I'm just going to get another glue stick. Okay. Like that. Okay. I mean, how pretty does that look? Really lovely, isn't it? And then the label. I mean, I really like to do things like this with vellum, because you can then just, where you've put your glue on the vellum, you can cover it up then by, you know, where you add your other things. So I think it's quite a nice way to cover up any glue. So we'll just have that glued down at the top like that. Okay. And then just have a look. Do we want that there or at the side? I think probably at the top. So just glue this down. Again, just using the hot glue, just, you know, for speed. Like that. I mean, how gorgeous does that look? You know, and it's literally taken no time at all. No materials whatsoever. I mean, just a little bit of sheet music and some of the stamping that we did earlier on in the series, you know, just to kind of demonstrate that, you know, all these things, I mean, like the stamping that we've prepped earlier, then they're just there on hand now to use. Like these bits, obviously, these are now on hand, ready for future projects. So, you know, all these things that kind of seem like, oh, you know, I haven't really achieved anything today. You know, when you're kind of lacking mojo, you sometimes feel like that, don't you? And think, oh, I've not really achieved anything. You know, I'd hoped to have, I don't know, bound a journal or made a few pages or, you know, something like that. Actually, all of these things that we're doing, they're actually going to come into their own, because like now, we had the stamped pieces straight away ready, which, you know, all does actually cut down, you know, on when you come to make a journal. So don't ever kind of, you know, feel disappointed that you've not really achieved anything, because whatever you've done, I'm sure it's, you know, it's to a valuable end, really. And it's got you back into the craft room, which of course, you know, that in itself is a valuable, you know, step, isn't it, that you've made. So that pocket there, just like that, really super roomy pocket. You can probably see it's, you know, really nice. And again, I would just glue that on 3 sides. And what I would probably do is glue it the opposite side to here, if you see what I mean. So I would have this side, oops, this side loading pocket there, but I would glue it on the page on the 3 sides here. So you'd have side loading pocket here actually in the pocket, and then when you've glued it on, you've got a side loading pocket there because you've glued it just on the 3 sides. So it's a kind of like double, you know, double whammy of a pocket really. So yeah, I hope that that's given you some kind of inspiration and things. And, you know, again, if you're kind of like struggling with your crafty mojo, you know, hopefully this is kind of just giving you a few simple, just, you know, craft with no goal in mind ideas. And yeah, hope that it's going to help in some way. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks then. Bye.